Hey, this is Brett. This is just a quick overview of our current thinking around strategic measures at the City of Edmonton. And it's important to note strategic measures are the measures that inform us about performance around the transformational activities that we're doing. So, as a reminder, there are 6 lenses to EPM, 6 different reasons that different stakeholders would be viewing your city performance data. So, for example, regulators need to see specific data that helps determine whether we're conforming to regulations that impact them. Calibration. This lets us benchmark the city against other cities and organizations. Communication. Communication is what we would send to council and the citizens' scorecards, those sorts of things. Today, we're just talking about navigational measures. So, measures which are used by you to monitor the performance of the city. So to emphasize, today I'm just going to have a quick chat with you about only navigational measures. So these are measures that don't go to council, don't go in citizens' reports and so forth, and only on the specific topic of making transformational impact in the community. So within this category, we've determined a number of sub-areas to look at, one of which is climate resilience. And within climate resilience, we've defined that as, Edmonton is a city transitioning to a low-carbon future, has clean air and water, and is adapting to climate change. We then spent some time with experts in this area, inside and outside the city, and came up with a collection of measures. So, let's say we had 10 measures. We looked at what are the categories you're trying to measure, within that category, an accurate description of what we're looking for, and then finally some measures, some proposed measures. Now, if we were to take a look at, say, greenhouse gases, we're looking at the tons of greenhouse gas emissions from Edmonton community sources. And so far, they've identified 3 measures. And these measures are what's currently available or can be currently available. But it's important to note that these measures will evolve over time. As we turn on EPM and use it and more people get exposed to it, new ideas for measures will come up. In fact, our experience is about 50% more measures will appear inside the first year. And they'll change as you bring up new systems with better capabilities, new data, and so forth. It's also important to note that the goal of these measures is not for communication. They're not to be shared with council or citizens. We'll come up with proposals for those measures at a later point in time. Now, in this case, we've defined 4 categories, and there may be as many as 10. A step further now is to take a look at these measures and consider their importance today. So, measures vary importance over time based on what projects you have underway, where your funding is, what the community is looking for this year compared to last year, compared to next year. And we've used some techniques to try to prioritize which measures this year are more important. I'll give you an example. In the City of Toronto, we were very concerned about traffic congestion, and a number of initiatives were put forward. In the first year, the program was focused purely on on-street parking. The concern was that a lot of people were parking outside of the allowed hours, and secondly, that we didn't have the policing capacity to monitor and issue tickets and so on. And if we charted that over time, it was getting incredibly worse. And so a number of simple initiatives were put in place to solve that problem. And for the first year, we monitored it much closer. And then as we resolved that problem, we moved on to other issues like synchronization of traffic lights and so on. Bigger initiatives took more time, took more revenue to make happen, and in sequence gave us less incremental benefit. So we prioritized the on-street parking first, signal synchronization second, and moved on to pedestrian issues third. And over time, we had a different set of priorities and key measures that we would use to monitor those activities. So in this example, we've categorized climate change adaptation and greenhouse gases as ones that we want to focus on more right now. We want to focus on it more because either there's a bigger gap, or we've got projects afoot to try to fix them, or they're more important at the current point in time. That doesn't mean you ignore the other measures. It merely means that if you're looking at an executive report or a simplified report, we'd be focusing in on A and B. but all the other data will be available to you, and often you'll want to drill through the data. So although you might be looking at these two primarily because that's where your current interest is, these others will always be available to you, and they may in fact impact some of these parent measures. So there'll be an ecology of measures available to you through EPM, and all we're doing is trying to help you as a leader focus on what's more important than other things based on current agendas. So hopefully that gives you a quick overview of how we plan on managing strategic measures in the EPM solution. Thanks for your time.